And this is what we look forward to. Hey, man, they're ready to go. Jim Jackson's with me. You want to go play with the Lakers, too?
Hey, look, talking about age, I'm old. I can fit in there.
I mean,
now I'm not playing no defense. I'm just going to stand in the corner and spot up and catch some threes. No defense, bro.
Oh, he's ready to shoot. Hey, with that said, you are now rocking with the best. Ro Parrish here in Studio B. We continue our previews of teams with the Lakers with the NBA legend and College Hall of Famer Jimmy Jackson. Talk of all the offseasons, once this roster was assembled, age. The memes,
big time.
I mean, the memes are out there, but just to kick things off, we know this team is long in the tooth. Ultimately, is this going to hinder or help this Lakers team?
Well, it depends because health is the major issue once you start to get older. But the way this roster is constructed, logging minutes is not going to be an issue because it'll be dispersed, I think, throughout the course of the year. You also have some young talent still. Malik Monk, Kent Bazemore is older, but don't get me wrong. Thalen Horton-Tucker still is pretty young. Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, is still pretty young. But it's all about when you're healthy, which the Lakers want is when? At the end of the year. So they're not going to put a lot of burden and pressure on their bodies during the course of the year. I think Frank Vogel is going to be very systematic with how he divides up the minutes to ensure that they're healthy when they need it best, which is come playoff time.
Toward the end of the season, 6 players that are over the age of 32. Once Dwight turns 36 in December, they have 4 players over the age of 36. You might get called.
Listen, man, I'm a little sensitive because I'm older too now. I'm 50, bro. So I understand what they're talking about when you're always talking about the age thing. I get kind of sensitive on that too.
Hey, man, you're as young as you feel, and of course, he feels good, I feel good. So let's go down the checklist of everything that the Lakers needed. The summer to-do list. Number 1, Jimmy, get another playmaker. They get that with Russell Westbrook.
Well, part of the issue was last year, it was when LeBron went off the court, who was going to make plays, okay? Dennis Schroeder wasn't in that role. He was more of a scoring point guard. So the efficiency in the offense kind of fell off. You don't have to worry about that with Russell Westbrook when LeBron James is absent and on the court. And the interesting part is how they'll play off of each other. Does Russell make it easier for LeBron to get shots? And now will we see a little different Russell Westbrook, kind of when he played with Harden a little bit, to be able to get some easy opportunities because of LeBron James. So the playmaking, check that right there because Westbrook, we know, can do it as good as anybody else.
Yes, he can. Of course, we know that he can dish the ball with the best of them. Now we go to perimeter shooting. We know that they lost some players. Caruso shot over 40% last year. They end up bringing in different players to fill in that role to shoot the perimeter outside shot better.
But you know what? The big question last year was, can the Lakers knock down enough three-point shots? Do they have enough shooters? Well, over the summer, again, you build your roster around your superstars. You say, okay, who can we get that now can keep the court spread? Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk. You look at those Kent Bazemore, Rondo, Ellington, all shot career highs. Here's the key, from the three-point line. Now, not volume shooters, but they add to the mix of what you're doing. You throw Trevor Ariza in there, who shot 35%. Now you have guys that spread the perimeter. They keep things open for LeBron, AD, and Russ, more importantly, to get downhill and attack. So they address that issue with veteran players, but also sprinkled in a couple of young guys that still can knock down jump shots.
Well, of course, we know defense wins championships, and you have to protect that painted area. So not necessarily bigger in a sense, but they have different players that maybe represent what they had in 2020 when they won in the bubble.
What was the success? They protected the paint with JaVale McGee and also Dwight Howard when they were in the bubble. Okay, so you want to kind of get back to that. Last year was a difficult challenge because Marc Gasol, at times on the perimeter, when he got switched out, he couldn't really guard that way. Andre Drummond wasn't a rim protector, so they went back to what kind of made them successful during the bubble. Dwight Howard is very familiar. Now, he's older in age, but yet he does a good job on the perimeter when he switches out. DeAndre Jordan, maybe not as much, but when you come down the lane, there's a big body in there. They're going to need that, in particular in the Western Conference with the amount of big bodies that are in there now with Jokic and Nurkic and Karl Anthony Towns and things like that.
Definitely going to need that size. Well, we know LeBron has that size. So from one of Ohio's finest to another, obviously he's closer to the Omega than the Alpha. What should we expect from LeBron this season?
Listen, man, when it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, but LeBron is so strategic in how he plays. Again, he's up in age, yes. We saw a little bit of that last year, but Mother Nature always wins, but LeBron is going to compete with Mother Nature by how he takes care of himself. And again, having the roster that he has right now, look at the number of players that you have. multiple All-Stars that have been there, done that before. The pressure won't be on LeBron to have to do everything. And I think that's what the Lakers brass really looked at and said, how can we lessen the burden on LeBron James that now the pressure to have to do everything, every game, is not there. So to me, that benefits him in the short term, but more importantly, it benefits him in the long term to compete for a championship.
Now, we know chemistry is so important. We know Russell Westbrook and LeBron have appeared in the Nas video, Brunch on Sunday, so they're already developing that chemistry. But how is that chemistry going to come across on the floor with these two players together?
Well, first of all, it's a conversation that the two had to say, can we really work together? An honest conversation, bro. Right. You know, that's the thing about it. When two superstars get together and say, kind of like Anthony Davis, now, two different roles, but they can coexist because this is what they really want to do. And what does Russell ultimately what? He said, I have accomplished so much in this league, but now it's time for me to win.
No question.
And how do you win? You win with the best. So you sacrifice. So here's the key word. They're willing to sacrifice some things in order for the ultimate prize, which is the championship. And these are two mature veterans. And I think with LeBron James, because he's so inclusive as a leader, he forces you to be like, you know what? The selfish part, me getting numbers, that's not what's important. Right. What's important is the trophy. So I don't see that as an issue with these two as we enter into training camp, preseason, and the regular season.
They definitely have some playmakers. Among the active leaders in assists, they have 3 of the top 4 with LeBron, Westbrook, and, of course, Rondo. In fact, let's take a listen to some of those guys right here.
We need Russ to be Russ. We need Russ to change for anybody. That's why we got him. And it's our job to all help him feel comfortable in our system. And he's going to be as dynamic as he's always been. So I look forward to that. We've been tied at the hip pretty much since we made the acquisition. And we're going to continue to be that. We're going to hold each other accountable. AD's going to hold us accountable. We're going to hold AD accountable because it's going to start in with us. So, we look forward to that. We look forward to continuing to getting better and figuring out ways we can be the best team we can be by bringing our individual talents to that.
When you come to a new place, and obviously me and Bron's been friends before I came here, but been actually being on the same team and understanding his work ethic, understanding mine, understanding the preparation, understanding how bad he wants to win and the things he's able to do to prepare himself. Allows me to see a different side of him where we connected. I think it's good because we both understand and know what it takes to be able to win. But obviously, Bron understands what it takes to get to that next level. And I'm able to kind of learn and understand some things from him along the way, and I've been able to do that.
And I expect to play center. I'm not sure, what's going to happen. Me and Frank talked about it a couple of times, and that's the plan. Right now, nothing is set in stone. But we want to see what that looks like. And I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, it's times, where Dwight or DJ, might get to start at center depending on games. But for the most part, I think the plan is to go with me playing center.
Wow, that's a little bit unusual. We know that he generally doesn't like to play center, so a big change. But, Jimmy, looking at this lineup right here, so many different options, interchangeable parts. The Lakers are going to be able to use this versatility when it comes to maybe to their advantage against these different opponents.
Well, they can because you can switch 1 through 5 right there with that lineup right there. Ellington gives you the shooting. Ariza gives you a big body that can defend. The playmaking from LeBron and, of course, Russell Westbrook allows now Anthony Davis to be able to move around the court, not just be anchored inside. So the flexibility in that lineup, I think, is what's the key is, but the bigs inside, that's going to fluctuate, though, bro. Depending on who they play. Frank Vogel was very active, and I think voiced this. You're going up against a Joel Embiid, Yusuf Nurkic. You're going up against a Jokic, DeAndre Ayton, even Karl Anthony Towns. Now that lineup may switch. You may put a Dwight Howard in there, shift Anthony Davis over to the 4, so he doesn't have to, consistently going with that pounding. Right. So even though we have a projected lineup, depending on who the Lakers are playing and who those bigs are, that may tend to switch a little bit.
And, of course, Carmelo Anthony, we have to bring him up as well. Yeah. We know that, of course, again, he's longer in the tooth, but still has plenty of ability left. What should we expect from Melo this season with the Lakers?
Pretty much what you saw last year in Portland. A role player in the sense of not afraid of the moment, can give you big shot opportunities because that's what you want. With Melo, he's not going to be the Melo of 2009, 2010, or 15. You know what I mean? But what he's able to give you is a player that's not afraid of the moment.
Right.
That can knock down a big shot when you need it. You know, he's been there and done that. He did that for Portland. And the thing about Carmelo is this. A couple years ago, he was very comfortable with who he is now. He wasn't the Melo of the Denver Nuggets, okay, or the New York Knicks. He settled in and said, this is who I am. I'm comfortable in this role. And that's why he was able to perform, I think, at a higher level, even though the minutes were restricted, is because he was comfortable playing that role. I don't see that as being a difference. Now he's with his boy, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's with his boy.
Hey, it's always good when you're playing with the homies.
Come on.
So we know about this Lakers team, won the title in 2020, however, playing team last season, first-round exit. Where do you see this Lakers team finishing this year?
Well, I think with this Lakers team, it may be, not competing to be number one is not an issue. It's being healthy. Think, at the beginning of last year, they were 21-6, okay, out of the first 27 games. But then AD got hurt. Then on the back end of that part of it, 21 of the last 45 games they had some issues with because of injury.
Injury, they started to slip.
But now, here's the thing. They're in the 7th position, but they still in an opportunity to beat the Phoenix Suns. Why? Because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But what happened? It was injuries. So that's why how you play minutes, how you put pounding over your body over the course of 82 games is going to be important for this Lakers team. Is it important to be number one for the Lakers? No, because they know once they get in the playoff position, no matter who they play, they have an opportunity to win those games.
All factors considered, 100% healthy, does this team play in June?
If they're completely healthy, I don't see how they don't.
Really?
I really don't. If they're completely healthy. Again, it's a lot of factors that go on during the course of the year. Teams make changes, injuries happen. But if you look at a front runner in the Western Conference based on what this roster looks like, you have to give it to the Lakers and say they're the ones that should be there in June. But we know a lot changes.
Yes, a lot of things do change. Can't wait for this season to begin. The Lakers, a brand new lineup, a different team from last season. Jimmy says if they're healthy, they're going to be playing in June. I can't wait to see it.
Come on, bro.
Hey, man.
Dave from Basketball Digest. Kevin, KD, why do people call you KD? Can I call you KD? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first name is Kevin.
Right.
And my second name, my last name is Durant with a D.
KD. This year, what percentage do you plan on giving on the court? 90, 95, 100, 110? What are we looking at?
110.
110?
You let anybody in here.
Hey, I heard
that. Listen, we let anybody in here. You are now rocking with the best. It's Ro Paris along with the NBA legend, college basketball Hall of Famer Jim Jackson, the one-time king of late night, addressing who would most certainly be the king of New York if he brought a championship, Kevin Durant. What'd you think about that?
Well, that's like somebody asked me why they call you JJ. I mean, first name is Jim, last name is Jackson. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Am I going to play 100%? No, I'm only going to play 50% during the season, man. I like how KD, then he's just like, how they let anybody in?
Yeah. And you know what? They might have a championship if KD wears a size 17 instead of a size 18. But that's another conversation for another day. The Nets team preview, that's what we're delivering to you. Now, right now, before we get into everything with the team, obviously one of the biggest stories in the sport right now, Kyrie. He is not aligned with the league's health and safety protocols. And at this point, the way things are set up, he would probably miss half of the season's games. So I want to ask this in two different ways. So how would you approach this as a teammate, and would that approach be different if you were in management?
Well, it's two things here. With Kyrie, it's not so much the league mandate, it's the city of New York. Kind of like Andre Wiggins is San Francisco's mandate that you have to be vaccinated, okay? Within the NBA, it's not mandatory, but it's not required, but they want to emphasize that you do it.
Yes.
So we got to make that clarification. Also, from a player's perspective, we understand who Kyrie is. If he's my teammate, I have a talk with him, but at the end of the day, he's going to do him. He's going to make decisions as long as he's making smart decisions, okay? That's the thing about me with this vaccination. If you don't want to get vaccinated, fine. But you have to take precautions, everything, not to put yourself in a situation that you get infected that then trickles down to your teammates. So if you're doing all of those things according to protocols, but yet you want to get vaccinated, all right, you're doing everything to keep everybody safe. But if you're out here wilding and doing something, then that's something different. As for management, They have to come to a decision because this is going to affect who they are as a team. You can't practice with Kyrie unless you go to New Jersey and practice or somewhere else outside the city. How does this affect the morale of the team as well? These are decisions that management has to make, coupled with the fact that you had some instances in the past with Kyrie where he wasn't available to play and it affected the team. So it's not just one instance. This is something else that goes on top of it. So the question goes back to management. Are we better with Kyrie? Are we better without Kyrie? And we have to make that determination sooner or later so we can move on as a team.
Well, we just spoke about Kyrie. Now Kyrie will speak for himself.
Human being first, and obviously living in this public sphere, there's just a lot of questions about what's going on in the world of Kyrie. And I think I just would love to just keep that private and, handle it the right way with my team and go forward together with a plan. So, obviously I'm not able to be present there today, but that doesn't mean that I'm putting any limits on the future of me being able to join the team. And I just want to keep it that way. So we can keep that private. And if anybody has any further questions about that, please, it'd be the same response. I would like to keep that private. And just please respect that, my privacy.
For us, we're all confident in our game, and when you have that, we're excited to see the next man shine and the next man be great. And that's the difference between all three of us. And even for us three, like, we want our teammates to be great. We want Joe to hit 9 threes in a game. We want, Blake to get threes. And, it's contagious. And once you have that throughout the entire organization and the locker room, that's when you created something special.
So when you hear people talk about playing the game the right way, they might look at assists, right? But what you just described is selflessness. There's not a lot of that in this league.
There's not a lot of that in this world. We're dealing, I'm blessed and excited to be, dealing with people that are selfless, that are just want to come to work and win and work extremely hard. And, I think everything else will take care of itself. Day by day, have fun, smile, and enjoy it.
We are professionals, and we all know what the main goal is in the NBA, which is to win a title. But a lot factors into that, and we understand that each day is important. We can't win one in October. So we got to be locked in from day one. And once that, opportunity presents itself to us, and, towards the end of the season, we got to be prepared for it. So we're looking forward to taking those steps.
When you all got together last season, there was a lot of chatter about how, there's not enough basketballs. You played with James before. So what was it about his game that you knew you guys could find success together?
Yeah, I felt like all three of us have seen team success in the playoffs before, so we understand that it's much bigger than us as individuals, and a lot of guys on our team have that same mentality. I can understand that if we were 3 younger guys who haven't played in meaningful games before, but we all played in huge games, so we know what it takes to win, and we know that you also need talent in this league as well. So we're going to have to come together as a group and keep growing and building on what we started, and hopefully we get the job done.
James talked with me about the selflessness of this team and how all you all want is success for each other. How important is that, and how underrated is that?
Yeah, it's an important aspect to a team, because everybody has their own individual journeys that they're on, and that's the beauty of professional sports, that you got guys from different backgrounds that got different motives, and we all got to come together as one group for one common goal. And I think, that's how you build a team, is that everyday process of that. And I think, we got a great group of personalities in order for us to do that, and our talent is going to, come to the forefront when it needs to.
Now, we know that this team didn't play all together. Speaking about the big three, when they're together on the floor, 5-1, without not necessarily as good. So JJ, what's at stake for this big three?
Well, you're talking about legacies here, and 3 individuals who are highly talented. Now, keep in mind, Kevin Durant has already won, but it's a situation where he wants to kind of do it in his own way with the structure of this team. James Harden wants to win the championship. Kyrie has won one. So kind of legacies on the line, kind of the expectation part of putting everybody together. What can you do? Can you ultimately win it? Who's the leader? All these different swirling questions. We got a little taste of it last year. Out of the 3,500 minutes that this team was together, they only played 202 together, okay? We're talking about the number of games, so you've never developed the continuity, but you saw what they could do when they're together.
Flashes.
Flashes of unstoppability. That's why they were number one in regards to offensive rating and efficiency, because of those three. Despite not maybe having some other ancillary stuff. Plus, you throw in a Joe Harris in there who's number one in three-point shooting. This team was just unstoppable. So the outlook, of course, is championship or bust with this team. But again, health, Kyrie situation, those things are a factor to ultimately determine how successful this Brooklyn Nets team is going to be this year.
No question. 8 games played together during the regular season. Your top 3 scorers generally have to play.
Yeah.
10 games is the number. That's the lowest amount of games your top 3 players, when you're going back to Shaq, Kobe, and Derek Fisher, that's the minimum amount of games that is taken for a team to win a championship. So you have to play at least 10 games or more together. They only played 8 in the regular season. So we'll definitely need to see them more together.
Yeah, we do. And again, injuries play a role. Again, we don't know the Kyrie situation. You saw flashes of it. Again, when you go back to the playoffs, even James Harden wasn't as healthy, but yet and still he gave you something. Defenses still had to kind of gear towards him a little bit more, which allowed KD to get off. So imagine if all 3 are together and healthy. And that's the reason why this roster was reconstructed a little bit differently this summer. We'll get into that little tease right there.
Right.
Into why I think they have a great opportunity.
That tease, he's a professional when it comes to television. Let's take a look at this depth chart. It is crazy. Okay. So number one, you have 44 combined All-Star appearances.
Right.
Sean Marks and company, they opened that bag this summer. Over $500 million in extensions paid this offseason, Jimmy. And, of course, they addressed the backboard depth, bringing in Patty Mills.
Well, let me tell you something. Patty Mills may be the most important acquisition of the year.
Why?
Kyrie is out. Because without Patty Mills as a backup, this team doesn't look the same because you don't have somebody manning the ship. Outside of, again, James Harden.
When healthy.
When healthy. So you have that backup, that point guard that you know has a high IQ. Sean Marks said he's a culture driver. Okay, so that may be the most important acquisition we've seen all summer if the Kyrie thing goes south. But the improved depth is what Sean Marks wanted. LaMarcus Aldridge, high IQ. Paul Millsap, high IQ. You get that in there, okay? And also the defense from the perspective of them having more depth allows them to guard a little bit better. Last year, when guys got hurt, it impacted offensively. More importantly, it impacted this team defensively. So now they were able to kind of go in and get veteran leaders, guys that can rebound the basketball, defend the paint, have a high IQ, have been all-stars in this league. So overall, what they've been able to do, they've improved in the areas they needed to, in particular the depth perspective for the Brooklyn Nets, with some of their additions.
You bring in those veteran additions, as you mentioned. Someone I also want to pay attention to is Nicholas Claxton, who has the length. We know that he has superior athletic ability, and he continues to develop.
Well, here's talking to Sean Marks. He said he may be their best defensive player because, one, he's long, he's rangy, but he can guard on the perimeter, which is very important because we all know, Ro, it's a pick-and-roll game. It's a spread-out drive. You come, you help. Claxton now is able to take that next level, that next jump. Again, his role, defend the paint, play defense, rebound the basketball, run the court. And when you have opportunities to score, you can do that. And why his job is a lot easier is because you have those 3 individuals that take the burden and pressure off. Now you just have to do what you have to do.
Perhaps one of the reasons why Jared Allen became expendable. So let's take a look at this Brooklyn Nets as far as the scheduling notes go. Of course, opening night. Make sure you keep it locked. TNT. Can't wait to see that one. The home opener against the Hornets. Christmas Day. I'm marking that one on my calendar.
What? Come on. I don't work that day, so I'm sitting right there watching it with a cigar in my hand, probably a little brown stuff next to me. I'm right there, a little liquor.
Nothing wrong with an adult beverage. 12 sets of back-to-backs, the 3rd highest games that'll be nationally televised. So with all that being said, Jimmy, you talked about legacy. We know that if KD wears a size 17, 16 shoe, maybe they're advancing to the finals. What happens with this Nets team this season? What is your prediction?
Well, for me, Kyrie's there with the acquisitions that they made with Paul Millsap, and I think now again, not the Paul Millsap and LaMarcus Aldridge of 5-10 years ago, but they give you something. And Patty Mills, this is the best team in the East. Not by far, but they're right there at the best if healthy.
If healthy. Blake Griffin there also returning. So is this team playing championship basketball? Are they advancing? And I know a lot depends on what Kyrie. Let's just say the roster as currently assembled with Kyrie.
Yes. Yes.
Say less.
That's the easy answer, bro. That's the easy answer.
But of course, it's going to come down to health. That is the biggest factor.
If I do that, there's more things coming with that, and that's what I've done my whole career, and that's how I am in this position, right? So there's no weight off my shoulder. I feel the same weight. The weight was always get better. I enjoy obviously that we're champions, but the weight is the same. Get better, and hopefully a lot of kids around the world and from my neighborhood, from Chris' neighborhood, Bobby neighborhood. They can see if you have the mindset of like improving every day. That's all. You might get yourself to a level that you never thought you're gonna be. Are we satisfied? I'm not satisfied. I'm not even close to being satisfied, and that's the tone we gotta set as a team, and as a leader of this team, that's the tone I'm gonna set. We understand that, teams are coming for us. But we're going to be ready, Hopefully we can be ready, and build good habits, good winning habits, and play together and compete. And, come for them too. It goes both ways. But as I said, always that's the mentality I have. I got to switch the script. One thing, I feel like the greatest players to ever play this game, they're like, and the greatest athletes in the world, they're like kind of like con artists. But what I mean by that is that, like, have you guys heard the story about Shaq? That Shaq said that David Robinson never gave him an autograph or took a picture with him, and he went out there and tried to, like, dominate him, play against him really hard. And then you have the story about Michael Jordan, that did the same thing. Like, what does that tell you? That tells you that these guys have to kind of flip the script in their head in order for them to do what they do, in order for them not to be satisfied. So we gotta do the same thing. For me, it's easy. I'm not satisfied, but as a team too, we gotta go out there and think. We know it was the 2021 NBA champs, but right now we just been walking backs again. That nobody believes in us, and nobody believes that we can do it again. But it takes steps to it. Step by step, we're going to work hard, and hopefully we can, achieve it again. We can play with a chip in our shoulders again.
Definitely has that chip on his shoulders. Now, we always hear about championships teams talking about repeating is the toughest thing to do. Handling that success, the Bucks are going to get everybody's best shot every single night. So what needs to be the focus as they look to defend their championship?
Well, in my experience of repeating as champion, that I ain't never won one, but I've been around long enough and talked to a lot of people who've been there. I mean, there's a reason why you go back to the 09, 010, 2010 Lakers, then it's the Miami Heat, then it's the 2017-18 Golden State Warriors who've done it. It's hard to do. It's hard to win one, let alone back-to-back. And the mindset is, and Giannis talked about it, was still the team to beat. In regards to, they're looking for challenges. They're looking for ways that they have to go out and motivate themselves. Now, it's easier said than done because you got the trophy. You completed everything. Plus, it's a short turnaround coming back off of the excitement. So how do you get yourself motivated back up for 82 games when at the end of the day, everybody's coming at you? But that's where leadership, I think the coaching staff, upper management, the trainers to keep you healthy mentally and physically, allow you to compete at a high level. So it's going to be very interesting to see the dynamics of that leadership from Giannis this year, more importantly, than we've seen in the past, that how he continues to make his team or keep his team motivated, motivated, knowing that in the Eastern Conference, it's gotten better. I think that in itself, too, will help push them because the Eastern Conference is much better than last year.
It definitely is. They're definitely going to need to improve defending the three. We know teams like to shoot threes. 29 defending opponents' three-point shooting last season.
Well, but, I'm going to give this. Just skew that back a little bit. Teams shot about 38%, from the three-point line. That number came down to about 35 in the playoffs when it counted. But it's the reason why teams shoot well from behind the three-point line. If you watch the Milwaukee Bucks play, it's part of their mantra defensively. We'll give up a corner three aside, but we want to protect the paint. So teams are going to have more options and more opportunities to shoot from the three-point line. Now, does that mean they're going to be satisfied with it? No, of course, they want to guard it better. I think they'll be a better team this year. But when it counted the most against the Suns after game 2, they locked in and took that option away because they can be a very good perimeter defensive team.
Saw them make great improvements after game 3 in the playoffs, whether it was the finals, conference finals. Looking forward to seeing this Bucks team focusing on the depth chart. See a couple of guys who did something that LeBron and Kyrie and Jordan and Pippen did. Holiday, Middleton, championship, gold medal, same season. However, a couple other players that stand out. Dante DiVincenzo, one time the most outstanding player in the NCAAs, developed, was in the lineup, in the rotation, got hurt. How is his development going to help this team?
Well, we like my boy Gus Johnson, we call him the big ragu because he can go out and play. But he gave you all the little intangibles, and you saw it a little bit when Milwaukee had to make their adjustments when Dante went out. Defensively, he can guard 1, 2, 3. Maybe and slide to the 4 a little bit just to be a nag. He can knock down jump shots. He's intelligent because coming from the Jay Wright system, he understands how to play team basketball. So he gives you a person that's on the court, a player that has high IQ. Now, coming back from injury, has to work his way back in, but he's not a player that you're going to say, here's volume shots. He's a system player that works perfectly with Giannis, and with Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday in that front and back court. So I look for Dante to kind of improve upon what he's done in the past and give them that needed three-point shooting and defensive perimeter player that they're looking for.
No question. Also looking forward to seeing Bobby Portis re-signs with the team. He's a perfect fit with the Bucks, kind of like when the Locks left Bad Boy and went to the Rough Riders. He's the perfect fit right there.
Fit.
So, of course, this team, we need to know. You spoke about it earlier.
Yeah,
you mentioned these teams that have gone back-to-back, the Lakers with the late, great Kobe Bryant, the Heatles. Then you have Steph Curry and company repeating as champions.
Bro.
Does this happen with the Bucks this season?
Well, you know what? They have a good opportunity. But again, because of the East, if you look at Miami Heat and their improvement, of course, the Brooklyn Nets, and now a lot of it has to do with what happens with Kyrie. It's not an easy thing to do because you have injuries, you have fatigue, you have egos, you have all these different things that happen. And you have the improvement. It's not like now in the Eastern Conference you're going to Charlotte, Chicago, Indiana getting these easy wins. It's not like that, Orlando.
Right.
You're not doing that. So the grind is different. And if we go back to that graphic, we said this, and we were talking about this off break. You didn't see San Antonio's name in there at all.
The Spurs.
As they won 5 championships. Have they ever repeated? No. That tells you the difficulty and how special it is when teams are able to do it. And what those teams have in common is they didn't have the injuries to their key players, which allowed them now to maintain a level of excellence to get back to the finals and compete and ultimately win back-to-back championships.
Coach Bud, coming from that San Antonio Spurs coaching tree, he wants to see them win back-to-back. So ultimately, what's your prediction? Where does this team finish? Are they playing basketball late into the season?
Ooh, they're going to play late into the season. Eastern Conference Finals playing against the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay, I like that prediction.
You like that?
Hey,
real simple.